are in attendance. In addition, Mr. Januso, Mr. Chief Poplinski, Mr. Holtworth, Mr. Bosley, Mr. Nazaroff, and Mr. Holtz. At this time, Mr. Ward, we take comments from our citizens who have a question or an item on the agenda. Please do those first. And then if we have something else that's unrelated to the budget, we'll call for that second. Does anybody have an agenda item they want to address?
Hi, John Zawella, Fawcett Church Road, checking up on what's going to be taking place with their storm storage at the top of the road.
I have to get with our new solicitor and talk to him about the concerns on that street.
You haven't yet?
No, we've been bringing him up to the pending litigation that was in front of him. We discussed that yesterday about trying to get him get him familiar with what the situation is on Fawcett Church there.
All right, spring's coming. You know, it's been hell on me last year, and it's coming around again pretty soon. And we had a water line break here just in December across the street, and it's still flooded me out. It's just the way the road is. Any bit of extra water, we get nailed down at the bottom. So
We'll probably get correspondence before the end of the month. We'll do our best to get you correspondence before the next Board of Supervisors meeting.
I don't know if it was correspondence.
To know where we are and what we obviously the other neighbor that where the obstruction occurs has lawyered up. We didn't get very far because John Smith, of course, resigned as our solicitor, and we have to get Chris up to speed on the cases.
Yeah, I understand that. I've already got over $12,000 into putting new lines in around my house and everything now to take care of the water. You know, I mean, I just wonder, you know, what's this neighbor doing? He spent his money on attorneys when he could probably fix his yard with a good swimming pool and did the damage in the first place.
That's where we are right now.
All right.
Anybody else have an agenda item?
Hi, I'm Catherine Pickford, Brookside Drive. I just have a question on these old municipal records. As a genealogist and a historian here, is it something that our historical society might be interested in keeping? Or if they don't want it, the Genealogy Society of Southwestern Pennsylvania? Because once they're destroyed, those records are gone. And if they're old tax records, 75 years and older, you know, it's a shame to get rid of those.
I'll just go into that.
You can donate them to somebody.
Most of them that have to be destroyed are confidential records anyway.
Oh, okay.
There might be a few that Don can tell you that might not necessarily be confidential, but they're records that we don't have to keep after a certain amount of time.
Right, but you could consider donating.
These records, most of these records are confidential. For example, personnel records for all years prior to 2010.
Yeah.
We have years going back to 1979.
Oh, you don't have anything older than that?
No, there are historic records in the back. Old budget notes from 1990. There's nothing that is of any historic value. And we have to follow the municipal records manual, which is set up by the state. They have a procedure involved that specifically deals with historic records, and none of these records fall into those categories.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's nothing that, you know, historical value that the historical society.
Those would be glad to give you.
All right, we'll take them. Or I'll take them for historical.
While we're on the subject,
I'm not letting nothing.
We'll get to it. Anybody else? General comments? Go ahead.
You're rambling on Georgetown Road. I just wanted to commend the winter guys that keep our roads in such great shape, because I go out early every morning, well, twice a week, very early, and I never have to worry about Cecil Township roads.
That would be us up on the board here.
Right. And I can't say that for Allegheny County, except South Fayette's.
Nor for the state roads. I've had television tell me how great our roads were and how horrible the state roads are. In what letters that you're talking about?
That we discussed on the roads about talking about roads and road and that.
Well, I'm talking about all the state roads. East Bishop Road is horrendous. Rising Road is horrendous. I'm talking about the snow removal on the ice river.
I was instructed to write a letter of concern regarding the areas that are...
Well, and that's another problem which we did discuss before, but I'm talking generally about the state roads are not being maintained. And I'm wondering if anyone has done anything to get a meeting going with the state and let's get them reminded that Cecil Township exists in their state roads and that it needs to be attended to.
When we met with Representative Ortiz, he had said that when he gets back from Harrisburg in 2 weeks, or prior week now, he would come back and talk to us in specifics and help us get a meeting with MDOT about snow removal.
He did.
Even talk to him potentially about having our crew do it and then getting reimbursed.
He suggested actually getting a list of their concerns, and he would take that directly with MDOT officials.
Right, but we don't want the liability of those because I think we're going through this.
Well, I mean, that was just one of his suggestions. I think the goal is to meet in the next few weeks.
Are we finished? I'm Wilda Lee, and I live in Georgetown Estates on Old Farm Road.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Wilda Lee, L-E. While we're passing out compliments, I'd like to say too, I've only lived here a year and a half, but I'm really impressed not only with the roads, but with the police service. Because I've talked with the chief of police and several of the officers about the problem that I want to discuss with you, and they've been more than gracious. They've been very helpful. But anyhow, I don't know if you're familiar with Georgetown Estates, but we have Old Farm Road, it has a big steep hill that comes up, and at the top of it is our clubhouse and our pool and our tennis courts. And we don't have parking. We only have parking for 9 cars there. That wasn't taken care of when they were built. And, you know, most months, except for the 3 months in the winter, we have parties there most weekends. And the parking situation there is terrible. And it's particularly hard for me. I live right by the parking lot. And when the cars park right beside my house and fill up the parking lot, and then there's a couple of pillars there, then they park all the way down that hill on Old Farm. I cannot see to get out of my driveway. I have to pull clear out into the street before I can see, and the cars can't see me because when they're coming up, the streets there are narrow anyhow, and when they come up that hill, they can't see me with all those cars parked there. And I've talked to the officers, and they've been very nice, and they agree that it's a hazard. And it's really a hazard in the summertime when the pool's open too, and they're having parties. And sometimes we'll have 30 cars parked out there, and they park against the traffic, and you know, I've got pictures of them pulled, some pulled this way, some pulled this way. They park across the street from the other cars. I mean, it's a nightmare. It's also, they also will fill up the 9 cars, and then they'll pull behind them all the way down into the parking lot. And if that community building would catch on fire, they would have to try. I mean, because it's a little narrow parking lot too, and they would have a really hard time. My house would be on burn before they would ever get those cars out of there and get because I'm just right beside the community building. So it's not only a hazard for the people. My friend Ellen here has she was at a house up there and back and out into traffic, and the car comes flying up the hill. And they do fly up that hill. And she almost got wiped out. My daughter just recently was backing out of the driveway and almost got hit. And it's just and you know, you all give them permission to park there. I mean, there's not supposed to be parking on the street, but they can call in and get permission, one-time permission. But this isn't like somebody in the neighborhood having a party and they want to park there one time. This is happening weekend after weekend, sometimes those days of the weekend. And it just, you know, April, May, and June, July is really bad, and then again during Christmas. And you know, all I'm asking for is, you know, I think it's fine, and I think it's good that you let people, when they're having company, park for one time. But this is a business that they're running there, and it's, you know, I just want my rights of the fire protection and being safe to pull out of my driveway like everybody else. And the reason I wanted to talk to you tonight, because we have a tennis courts back there that are in bad repair, and they're about to put $38,000 back there, and we're trying to get them to, instead of repairing those tennis courts, which are only used a few times during the summer. I live right there where I can look into them, and I see that, and I know last summer, except for one lady that's recently moved, they were only used 5 times, and they're about to put $38,000 into repairing those tennis courts that they could make them into a parking lot. And so, you know, but as long as they're allowed to park on the streets, they're not going to do that. The association, we've tried to talk to them about getting the votes to help us get the votes to make the tennis courts at the parking lot, and we'll do it as long as they can just allow people to park on the street.
Is there any other areas they can park?
No, they didn't, when they designed that, they didn't provide for that.
There's no central parking. I've never seen it.
No, there isn't. The only parking except on the street is those 9 parking places. And then when they, you know, they pull in like this, and it's a little narrow place, and then when that fills up, they'll get behind them. You know, and the children get off the bus there at school. And it's very, very dangerous. And then in the summertime, they come over there and they park on the street to go into the pool. And I'm there in my kitchen window, and you know, mothers are trying to, with small children, are trying to get their kids out of the car, and they're trying to get other things out, and those little kids are running all over, and I'm thinking, well, please don't let a car come flying up that road, because they wouldn't see them with all those cars behind them.
All right, in the first place, you know that's an internal decision that you're associated.
Right, I know, I realize that.
But I'm going to mention that to the chief. We try to cooperate with somebody who has an event at their house party, because those are random and probably sporadic.
Yes.
It was never really the intent, I don't think, of trying to issue this on-street parking for an event. I mean, it's the same place for an event all the time. How did you address that?
Well, it's definitely temporary parking, and I did address this, and I remember talking to you.
He did.
What happens is our officers, every time there's a complaint like this, they'll go over and they'll move the cars. I think we even talked to the homeowners association. That's probably where you're talking about. You met the police, and they explain everything to you. So if there's an issue with the fire hydrant, the driveway, and we actually move them to other streets because of this reason. But again, there are events and there is no parking anywhere in that plan that they can park off the street. So again, they have a community center. Their homeowners association, I believe, has meetings there, as well as, they said, parties and events. And of course, that's why we give permission, temporary permission, for an event or a party or a gathering over at the clubhouse. And to be honest with you, a lot of the residents do use that clubhouse, so that's why we give the permission. But, and again, just to reiterate, if there is an issue, call us and we will handle any kind of safety issues and concerns. And if we have to cite, we'll cite them.
Yeah, and they do. I mean, I have the police officers come out, but the minute they leave, another person's coming in late and they pull right in the same place.
It's nearly impossible to enforce, because we'll go over and drive through, and within minutes, there's cars parking on the road again. Obviously, there's a lot of people live in that community, that plan. So we can go through the whole plan, and of course, a lot of people understand why this person gets cited, but we'll go through the plan, and then we'll leave, and immediately, like she just stated, another vehicle could come in and park on the road and may not, ask for permission. So